All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Wednesday afternoon, hump day, August 13th. Another edition of KFTV Live, presented by KnicksFanTV.com. CP the Fanchise in the building for the lunchtime grind. Salute to everybody, Knicks Nation, wherever you're at, worldwide. Salute to everybody out there on the grind, man. On today's show, the Knicks season opener has been revealed. We're getting little tidbits on the Knicks schedule ahead of Thursday's big reveal. We will let you guys know who the Knicks will take on to open up the season. Plus, the MLK matchup has also been revealed. That plus, Tim Legler gives his Knicks win prediction, overs and unders, and a little bit of a reasoning behind it. We're going to break that down on today's edition of Worst Take. Call me up in the KFTV Discord, man. Any questions, comments, concerns, regrets as it relates to the orange and blue New York Knicks. Salute to our Fanchise channel members. Salute to the replay gang. Always remember that these shows are available in audio podcast format, so no reason to miss it. And let's get right into it, man. Let's get right into it. All right, salute to the family, man. Wednesday, we are almost there. Salute to you guys, man. Let me salute my Fanchise channel members. First and foremost, Protocol. Will Latimer in the building. Will, salute to you. I'll never forgive action. Salute. J. Lopez, 104, always in here. Mr. Grabber Gaming, 8791. Mellow Mike, always in here. Salute, man. CB 22491. I see you. Eric L. Beats, KFTV's resident DJ. John Solitude, 45. Above the Rim. Flizzy Flex. How we feeling, man? How we feeling? AP, I see you in here. Salute, salute. All right, man. Hope you guys are feeling good. Just remember, just to give you guys a breakdown of how the rest of the week is going to look. Tomorrow night, Thursday, is going to be the big schedule reveal. Myself, Alex, will be on the ones and twos. We're going to break down the entire 82-game 25-26 campaign, all the key matchups, the West Coast trips, the back-to-backs, the national TV games. You guys know how to do it. We're going to give you everything that you need to know about the schedule. But until then, let's dig into some of the reveals so far, and that is the Knicks will open up the season on Wednesday, October 22nd, 7 p.m. on ESPN against, you guessed it, the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, so they gave us the Christmas Day schedule against Cleveland to open things up. Now we know that the opener is going to be against Cleveland. So that is the NBA letting you know, based on their expected eyeballs, who the top two teams are expected to be in the Eastern Conference. So get ready for a lot of Knicks versus Cavs, a lot of manufactured rivalries, this, that, and the third, and that will tip off the Knicks season on Wednesday on ESPN. I mean, look, a lot of people like, man, Cavs again. Why not the Pistons? Why not the Hawks? Maybe even why not the Orlando Magic? I think in tipping off on ESPN, look, they want to get the most bang for their buck. You got to remember that. This is a new national TV deal, $7 billion. They got to make sure that their partners are happy, and so they want to make sure that they get the most casuals in order and lined up to watch these games, so they give you the Cavs. Now, if this game was not on national TV, maybe you would have gotten a Pistons or a Hawks or Orlando Magic, what have you, maybe even a West Coast team. But for the opener, I can see the logic in this. So you got a little Knicks Cavs to open things up, and then on the nightcap, you get the battle of the first and second picks of the draft. You get Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks hosting Dylan Harper, of course, Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, and the San Antonio Spurs. So that nightcap is actually going to be entertaining as well. All right, so there that is. Now, what they did for Thursday on ESPN is kind of interesting because they placed the OKC Thunder, the champs, visiting the Pacers without Halliburton, without Turner. I mean, that one seems like a little bit of a dud. You know what I mean? But hey, you know, if you guys are into that, you're into that. And then the nightcap, I know this one you can't really see it on my screen here, but it's the Warriors hosting the Nuggets. Warriors hosting the Nuggets on the nightcap. So that one will be a little bit interesting. So what do you guys think here? Knicks versus Cavs to open things up. Hey, I'll be there. I'll be at the Garden. You know, we'll have a watch party and all that planned. So the planning is getting in order because we are just about 2 months away from this thing really getting real. Okay? Now, MLK Day games have also been revealed, and the Knicks will be taking on the number 1 pick, Cooper Flagg, and the Dallas Mavericks. They're going to be hosting Cooper Flagg. You'll have, let me just get this a little bit straight there so you guys can see it. You have Cooper Flagg. You'll have AD coming to the Garden, 5 p.m. tip-off for the MLK Classic. And that will be on NBC Peacock. All right, so NBC, remember, NBC's getting back into the mix. And this will be in all these games will be on NBC Peacock. So you'll have the Hawks and the Bucks at 1 o'clock. That'll be kind of interesting. You have Cleveland and hosting the champs. That'll be a good game at 2:30. Then you'll have the Knicks at 5 o'clock. And then you'll have the Pistons and the Celtics closing out. So by that time, you can eat dinner and go to bed. But how about Cooper Flagg coming to the Garden? I like that. No Kyrie makes it a little bit less interesting, but hey, I'll be there, and I'd like to see what the number 1 pick is looking like, and AD as well. So that'll be interesting at 5 o'clock. You got to the whole Jason Kidd storyline. I'm sure they'll play that up. Maybe Carmelo will be used as a studio analyst. Remember, Carmelo's going to be part of the NBC broadcasting team, so that'll be interesting as well. What's also interesting, man, I'm going to let you guys know something. I don't know if this was a premonition. I had a dream we traded for AD last night. I had a dream that we traded for Anthony Davis. I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's going to happen. But it was very interesting. Like, I woke up thinking about this. Like, it's like a Bridges and Mitch soon to be traded for 80. I don't know. But I did. I keep it real. 100% true. I had a dream that we traded for Anthony Davis. Jay Lopez, you be the judge. AP says that's a nightmare. No way. Towns and AD? That'd be fantastic. Yeah, I did. I had a dream we traded for Anthony Davis, man. But anyway, so that's the MLK slate and how the MLK is looking like. So we know opener against the Cavs. We know Christmas Day against the Cavs. We know MLK Day against the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Knicks also released the full preseason schedule. Remember, we had dropped a couple of tidbits on the preseason schedule based on what we knew. And we had given you guys, I think, about 4 games, but they're going to play 5 games in all for the preseason. So we know the 2 games in Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi games, October 2nd and October 4th. Then they're going to be home against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Ant-Man, Julius Devo coming back. Then they will be home against the Washington Wizards on the 13th. And then they'll wrap it up against the Hornets. So some of the usual teams that they play in these preseason games, and all at the Garden. So once they come back from Abu Dhabi, they'll get 5 days off, and then they'll finish out at home. So these are the 5 preseason games, and then boom, the 22nd against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's how we're looking. What do you guys think, man? Call me up on the KFTV Discord. Salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to everybody on the grind. If you guys are on the grind, throw me a hashtag grind. I'll shout you guys out. Anthony Torres on the Facebook says, no, not AD. He stays hurt. I know, man. I know. But I had to follow up. Sometimes you have these crazy dreams and like you instantly forget. As soon as I woke up from the dream, and it's like, I got to tell the chat. I got to tell the people what happened here. We got to talk about this. Sharpens in the chat says, AD, the school of Anthony Ambulance. Yeah, I mean, I know. I can't say you're wrong there, sir. JJ on the grind. Salute to JJ. Chloro for music. Salute. WFU2, I see you in here, man. Shamil, how you feeling, man? Salute to Shamil. G5 Weez Capo. Salute. Jay Lopez on the grind. I see, man. Zaul Martinez, 522. Salute to all of our Uber drivers, our truck drivers, everybody on the MTA, all of our emergency responders listening on the road. Beautiful day here in New York, and hope it is a beautiful day wherever you guys are. Okay. All right. Remember, tomorrow night we will have our full schedule reveal. We're just getting a little tidbits in here, and that's okay too. Okay. Now, let's get to, I want to load up this soundbite here from Tim Legler, and a couple things I want to acknowledge before I do so. First off, let me acknowledge Mark Simmons. Mark Simmons, a KFTV viewer, subscriber, Mark Simmons, for submitting this one on for today's Worst Take. Shout out to Mark Simmons for submitting this clip for today's edition of Worst Take. And on Worst Take, we go around the NBA media sphere, whether it is a Twitter take, a podcast take, a blog take, and we react to that Knicks take and give it a rating. 1 being trash, all the way up to 5 being facts. So this was the All-NBA podcast, Adam Mayers and Tim Legler, and they were going through their over-under win total predictions for the 25-26 campaign. So we're going to play the clip as it relates to the New York Knicks. We'll react to it and talk about it on the other side. Here we go.
Smart player, skilled player, useful player. But I saw him taking the over.
They're finishing up with the Hawks, so we'll a couple seconds, I'll get to the Knicks. Here we go.
We're different on that one. We haven't disagreed too much, but I like it. We'll have to circle back. The New York Knicks, 53.5. That's a big line. Somebody has to be at the top of the East. The Knicks are penciled there. What do you think? 53.5 legs.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to go over. I just look at, to me, there are two teams. These last two teams we're going to cover had the least amount of question marks going into the season, and that's the Knicks and the Cavs. Very talented rosters. Both had great years and coming into the year for the most part healthy. So, and the coaching change in the part of the Knicks, I like Mike Brown a lot. I think Mike Brown's going to be somebody that's going to connect with these guys. I think they're going to play for him. And I think he's got a really smart mind for ways that he could clean up some things defensively with this team. I like their starting lineup a lot. I don't love their depth as much. They did add Jordan Clarkson, which is a nice pickup, in what he does and how he does it. They're going to have somebody to put the ball in his hands. They didn't have much besides Brunson a year ago. Now they've got another guy. Just put the ball in his hands and let him go, and he could flat out score. So because of the issues with some of these other teams at the top of the East, I'm going to take the over on the Knicks, which is a lot, man, because that's a big number. You're talking about them getting to 55, 56 wins, 57. I mean, that's a lot, but I'm still going to take the over because, as you said, they're to me the most known quantity we have right now, or no most known entity, rather, in the Eastern Conference, probably besides the Cavs.
They won 51 last year, so we're really counting on them getting a couple more wins, 3 more wins than they had last year. You could see them doing it because I think the East might even be worse than it was last year. Yabusele maybe helps a little bit. Jordan Clarkson maybe helps a little bit. New coach is a real big X factor here. I think I'm going to go the over 2, but I think this is another line that was perfect because I think they either win 52, 53, 54, or 55 games. I think it's that close to it. So, let me actually take the under. I'm going to take 53. I'm going to take him exactly at 53 wins. Somebody has to win in the East, but I just don't think that they're meaningfully different than what they were last year, even with the coaching change, which brings us to the last team.
All right. What do you guys think about that? Tim Legler is going the over on 53.5. And so is his co-host. Knicks won 51 games last year. I'm going to go with the over as well. 51 was where they finished last year. I think they will go over. Health, knock on wood, for these guys to stay healthy in all 82. We need all 82 out of these guys. Yeah, you can expect some guys to get nicked up and banged up along the journey, but we got to hope for nothing too major. One of the things we got to be thankful for is that the Brunson ankle injury wasn't worse than it was, and the OG foot injury wasn't worse than it was. Knicks caught a breakdown, those two. And Towns was able to even get through with, thumb, finger, everything broken on every hand. Hart with the knee injury. They got Mitch back. So I'm going to go over. I think they can get to about 55 wins when you factor in the extra year of chemistry with this team. Now, how they adjust to Mike Brown and his new system will be left to be seen, of course. But as these guys said, when you look at who they're up against, especially in the East, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to rip off games. When you look at the bottom feeders, the Wizards. Look, no disrespect to the Raptors, but I think there will be a team that the Knicks should be able to get some wins off of. The Nets, all right? Hey, if Embiid doesn't come back, I'm not so sure how great Philly is at the end of the day. Hey, Miami Heat, Chicago Bulls, the Pacers. Look, the Pacers are going to be tough. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be scrappy, but we should be able to win season series against a lot of these teams. And so when you factor that in, you end up ripping off a lot of wins. So I'm going to go with the over 53.5, and I think they get to about 55. And we'll do some more on the over and unders as we get closer to the season preview series and things of that nature. James Brown says Raptors got Brandon Ingram. Is that a joke, sir? Is that supposed to be a joke? Are we supposed to be nervous about Brandon Ingram? Come on, man. James Brown, this is comedy hour. But like I said, I think they will be right up there in the win total. Now, let's talk about what the reason why our viewer, Mark Simmons, shout out to Mark, sent me this clip was that, it was more so on Legler's take on the bench. Legler said he didn't like the bench depth. My reaction to that is, look, obviously we have to wait and see. But, hey, if we're comparing them to last year, the depth has improved. I know it was a very, very low bar because we have to consider that this bench was one of the worst benches in the NBA. And I don't care if Tibbs didn't play. They were one of the worst benches in the NBA. None of those guys were brought back. The free agents. Maybe Shamet comes back. We'll see. They're one of the worst benches in terms of points per game. They also didn't play all that much in terms of minutes per game. So automatically, you're bringing in Clarkson. You're bringing in Yabusele. Yabusele last year off the bench with Philly, 27 games and 22 minutes. 10.4 points per game, 4.7 rebounds per game. 52%, 53% from the field, 46% from three. He had a 67% true shooting percentage. Clarkson, 37 games played with the Jazz. 16 points per game, 3.7 assists, a 41-36-80 slash line. So you're getting a bucket getter off the bench and a formidable big man who takes Precious's spot. You get a real power forward who takes Precious's spot, can space the floor, and get you some buckets and provide some toughness. So automatically, your bench is vastly improved. And that's just those two guys. But then also you factor in Deuce. And Deuce led the bench in scoring last year at only 9 points per game. So we're talking about a guy who can give you 16, 10, then Deuce. So you're automatically improving offensively. Then you factor in, does Josh Hart come off the bench or does he start? If he comes off the bench, you got a regular season triple-double threat. If Mitch comes off the bench, your defense is automatically improved. So the bench is going to be good. How much better, time will tell. Because then you're going to sprinkle in the fact that you're going to stagger an already strong starting five with some of those guys in an 8-9 man rotation, maybe 10. So the bench is going to be vastly improved from last year. I'm not worried about that. Time will tell how much better they are, but I think the bench is definitely going to be way better. And not to mention the fact that they got Clarkson. They were very lucky to get Clarkson, considering they had no money to spend. And the fact that they didn't have to spend the taxpayer mid-level on Clarkson, you get him for the vet minimum, and use the taxpayer mid-level to get Yabusele, To me, they had a better than expected free agency. Were they at the top of my list? No. But the guys that went for far more money. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard. A lot of those guys went for more than the Knicks could afford. So, overall, how do we rate that take from Legler? He's going over the 53.5. Says that he doesn't like the bench, but overall likes the team. I'll give it a 4. A 4 out of 5. What do you guys think in the chat, man? Rate that take in the chat. Shout out to Mark Simmons for providing that take. And if you guys at home have a worst take candidate, whether it's a comment from your group chat, a tweet that you came across, something on Knicks Reddit, Instagram, a podcast clip, send it in. Email us at kftvmedia@gmail.com. Send it in, and we will react to it accordingly as a family. That's what Worst Take is about. Sometimes we may miss some of these things, so we want to rely on you guys at home to send us the content, and we'll get to it. We'll react to it. Okay, shout out to you guys, man. I mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. Make sure you guys are signing up for the KFTV newsletter, man. We want to continue to build out our newsletter this year, and it is absolutely free. And you're going to get fantastic articles from our great writers, from Jeff to Jalen to Omar. Remy's recaps, always our fan favorite. Alex jumps in as a guest from time to time. Go to KnicksFanTV.com, click on newsletter, and just drop your email right here. And for free, you'll be signed up for the newsletter, man. We don't spam you with anything unnecessary. We're going to drop articles. We're going to have the recaps. We'll notify you of events. And also on some of the content like today's live streams. Like we had a viewer who emailed me and said, hey, man, I'm not getting any YouTube notifications when you go live. So I suggested to him, join the newsletter. Subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss anything. And once again, it's free to sign up. So just make sure you're doing that. You're supporting us. And we can also always make sure that we have a way of getting in contact with you to notify you of the important announcements. Okay? So shout out to everybody on the newsletter team. And shout out to you guys at home. Okay. Who else we want to shout out here on the grind today? Shout out to Alex O said solid pickups, excellent value. Yeah, I agree with you there, Alex. Mark Stevens on the Facebook says Knicks versus Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals. Knicks in the finals. Okay, so he's dropping Knicks in Orlando in the East Finals. John Shin in the building. Salute. Above the rim, how you feeling? Some of our regulars in here. Daniel Postajor. How we doing, man? Good to see some of our regulars in here. Shout out to Omar G as well. Now, on the topic of, let me get my worst take logo off here. On the topic of, hang on. Sorry, this one. Oh, okay. I got that one. Yeah, on the topic of the Knicks bench, shout out to our guy Ian Begley. He was on the putback yesterday with another friend of the program, our guy Keith Smith. And this was Ian's thoughts on the last roster spot. You know, there's a lot of talk about Ben Simmons. Is Shamet going to come back? So here was Ian's take on the last roster spot and who it might go to. Here we go.
And I'm talking about Shamet because I think there's still mutual interest there, Shamet and the Knicks. I do think that, like, if I'm guessing that it ends up with Shamet getting one of those spots, and that's why I keep mentioning his name, just because I think it'll end up that way, unless there's a change in thinking, a significant change in thinking. I do think it'll end up that way. I think there's a lot of support internally for bringing Shamet back. I think that there's a lot of respect for what he did last year with that shoulder injury, getting back on the floor. Impacting things in the postseason when he came back in the rotation after not being in it for so long. There's a comfort with Shamet, respect for Shamet in that locker room. So I would assume that he'd be back. And then, you're looking at that rookie minimum. But I think too, like I just in having these casual conversations, and at this time of the year, Keith, as you know, like we're past the big rush, and everybody's kind of, some people are taking it easy. It's vacation time. It's time to unplug. But just in having some casual conversations, I would not rule out the idea that like the Knicks wanted to bring in another veteran in addition to a Shamet, and the only way to do that is to make a trade. For them, you can't do it any other way. You have to open up a spot if you wanted to bring in another veterans minimum.
Okay, so that was our guys, Ian Begley and Keith Smith. They had a good conversation yesterday. You can catch that over on SNY's channel, to put back with Ian Begley. So he thinks it'll end up being Shamet with that final veterans minimum. Ben Simmons has been on the list. For me, just opinion and not based on any intel or fact. Like, if I had to choose between, look, the thing is, and Will in the chat says Shamet is small. Maybe you have a little bit of redundancy at the guard spot with Clarkson and Deuce, and where does Shamet really fit in? You can make the case that the Knicks need more ball handling. I make the case that they need another solid wing. But the Simmons thing is just, to me, that's just more wishful thinking on a reclamation project, more so than what he can really do to help this team. I just don't see it. I don't think he's got the mental makeup to play here. And so if it means bringing in Shamet, even, redundancy be damned, I'd bring Shamet back. I like the way he shot the ball to close the season. He understands the playoff atmosphere here. He was a playoff riser, in my opinion, a gritty, scrappy player, a fan favorite. And so he's got that locker room chemistry, like Ian said. He's got that comfortability. And I like him. I would bring him back. Why not? Why not? I would bring Shamet back here and wrap up the bench. Johnson, Amir Coffey. Yeah, very interesting that Amir Coffey has not been picked up, not just by the Clippers, by the Knicks, by any team in the league. He had a good year last year. So very interesting, just how the business works, man. One day you're hot, and one day you're on an unemployment line. It happens that fast in the NBA, man. So got to plan accordingly, got to be strategic, and got to have your ducks in a row. Before you know it, you're learning, Chinese, you're in the Turkish league, you're in the Spanish league, and that's it, man. Who else we got in the chat? Salute. Who else we got in the chat, man? Well, Latimer, I would give Shamet the last spot. What do you guys think? Omar G, can't wait for the schedule release. Likewise, man. We will be live on Thursday. We'll be live tomorrow night to break it all down for you guys. So can't wait for that as well. And speaking of Knicks on the move and free agents on the move, Rokas Jokubaitis is also on the move, man. Rokas Jokubaitis is headed over to, hang on, I'm trying to pull it up. I added up earlier. Okay, here we go. Bayern Munich. Rokas is headed over to Bayern Munich after a good year with Maccabi Tel Aviv. So further proof that he will likely never play for the New York Knicks. So, yeah. Rokas Jokubaitis headed to Bayern Munich. And remember, I told you guys, I ran into one of his homies. I was at the gym in Summer League. I was out in Vegas and ran into one of his homies they were together in Maccabi Tel Aviv. This guy was like the equipment manager for the Orlando Magic, but also did some time. He was on loan from the Maccabi Tel Aviv. And, he said, look, man, for Rokas, it's the simplest opportunity. He's shining out there in Europe, wherever it is, whether it's Barcelona, it's Maccabi Tel Aviv, now it's Bayern Munich. He's a starting point guard. There's no questions. You come here, who knows? You could be a bench warmer. You be a scrub. So he's doing the right thing as it relates to his personal career and his brand. And so for the Knicks, I think this will continue to forever be a draft and stash, a stash and stash, as Shan BK said in the chat. So yeah, Rokas ain't coming here. Omar says, good for the kid after playing 10 minutes in Summer League. Yeah. So he will not be here, but shout out to Rokas. Okay. All right. What else we got here? Going through some stuff. I had some other stuff here. You can follow us on KnicksFanTV, Twitter, Instagram, all platforms. The Rooster won a chip. Danilo Gallinari. Shout out to the Rooster, man. He won a championship out in Puerto Rico. Yeah. Danilo won a championship in the finals MVP for his Puerto Rican team. Shout out to Danilo, man. I was a big Danilo guy, man. Danilo Hive was heavy. Yeah, I was a big Danilo guy, man. I had a lot of hope for him. If it wasn't for the pursuit of Melo, I would have really been intrigued to see what he could have done had he stayed with the Knicks, man. I was a big fan of the pick. Showed a lot of promise. Remember the game when the Melo rumors were heating up and the Nuggets came to the Garden and Danilo, he wanted to shoot the fair one with Melo, so they were going back and forth and shot for shot. Yo, Danilo had a little dog in him. He had a little dog in him, man. I really liked him. So this was his team, Vaqueros de Bayamon. And earlier this year, early in the season, I interviewed J.J. Barea, who's the head coach of that team. And J.J. Barea, coincidentally, part of that interview, I asked J.J. Barea about his time with David Adelman, who's now the coach of the Denver Nuggets. And he spoke very highly of him. And now J.J. Barea is going to be part of the Denver Nuggets staff under David Adelman. But yeah, shout out to Danilo, man. Yeah, he was a dog. Yeah, I was definitely a Danilo Hive. They said Ronaldo Balkman's on that team. Shout out to him. He's been able to, you got to give a lot of credit to those guys who have been able to carve out a career across the international scene. And Ronaldo Balkman's been everywhere. He's been in the Philippines. Remember, he was out there fighting in the Philippines. He's out there in Puerto Rico. That's where he's from. That's where his background. So shout out to Ronaldo Balkman, still making a living and at the professional basketball scene. DeMarcus Cousins was down there. He couldn't make it all that long. Rob Rich, salute to you, Rob Rich. Salute, man. All right, who else we got in the chat before we wrap? Lou Rock, salute. He says, NYC to Hartford CT. Where's everybody checking in from, man? Throw your cities, throw your countries, your state in the chat. Where you guys repping? I'll shout you guys out. Sham BK says, no to end hour. No shout-outs to end hour. He cannot come back to the once a Nick, always a Nick barbecue. I feel you, man. Shout out to Marty Collins, OA Associates, who's number one on the chat leaderboard. Okay, OA Associates is shooting up there. My 2 cents, you got competition up there, man. And Omar G rounding out the top 3 on the chat leaderboard. Like, YouTube has this new chat leaderboard based on the people who are chatting the most in the chat. And OA Associates is creeping up, man. He's a newcomer. All right. All right, what else we got here? I'm trying to just see what else. Oh, Daniel Tice. Did you guys see this? Daniel Tice, which is not really surprising by any stretch, but Daniel Tice said he had an offer to come to the Knicks last year before he went to Europe. He says, I could have gone to the Knicks, for example, but it was more insurance for Mitchell Robinson that came back from long injury. So he was one of the guys that we were hoping for in terms of getting some depth at the 5 spot. But again, similar to the Rokas situation, a lot of times we look at these things like, oh, man, we need this guy. Why wouldn't he come here? Why would he go to Europe? Well, these guys are going, A, for a bigger bag and for a better role. That matters. Rather than coming here and not being clear on which direction you're going in. So that would have been nice. It would have been nice to have Daniel Tice in the squad. I like Tice. Yeah, aggravated man. I like Tice. So yeah, that was Tice revealing that he had an offer to come to the Knicks. Okay, let's see who we got here. Will Latimer, ATL Harlem World, salute. YO, Yonkers, NY Knicks State of Mind. Omar checking in from Orlando. Samir Soriano, Snoqualmie, Washington. Never even heard of that, man. Salute to you, man. What do they do out there, man? Snoqualmie. Sounds like a Native American name. Who else we got? Patterson, salute. Let me see who else. Brooklyn, Sham BK, how you feeling? Montverde, repping Guyana as well. Boogie Down, Bronx, Eric King. Appreciate you, Eric King. BK, Paulie Thomas, I see you. Never Forgive Action, Kansas City. How you doing? That's a place I've never been in, Kansas City. Missouri or Kansas. J. Cole, Honolulu. That's another place I've never been to, man. Never. I got to cross Hawaii off my list. I've never been there. Forest Hills, I see you, Danny Landis. Okay. Jersey City, Rich Sanity. How you feeling? Shaolin in the building. Michael Ortega, who's getting pumped for the season, you already know. That's why we're here talking about this. Poughkeepsie, okay. Shout out to you. Happy birthday, Lou Memorabilia. Everybody wish Lou Memorabilia happy birthday in the chat. Enjoy it, man. Live it up. More life to you. More blessings to you. Yeah, Omar, man. You know, Orlando's on the list. We'll see where they fall on the schedule. But I'm hoping to get the Orlando meetup crossed off the list. You know, we got to do Miami again. We got to do Atlanta. We got to head to the West Coast. We got to get to L.A. H-Town. I've been promising H-Town a meetup. So we got to get all that done. Nyack. Okay, who's checking in from Nyack? Who's that? Let me see. Nyack. Rashid. Salute to you. Yeah, happy born day to Lou. Jamaica Queens, Ray Restless, I see you. Okay. Good show, yeah. Good show, man. Just a quick tap in. You know, it's hump day. Lunchtime for some of you on the East Coast. For you guys on the West Coast, you still getting to it. For you guys across the pond, hey, you guys are getting your evening started, man. So I like this time of day to come on because we can tap in with everybody worldwide, really, and really get the most people in here. So we salute you guys, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Be safe on the road. Enjoy the weather wherever you are at. And remember, we'll see you guys tomorrow, man. Tomorrow night, schedule reveal show. And that's the story, man. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Sign up for the KnicksFanTV newsletter to stay up to speed on everything happening this year. It's going to be another big year for KFTV as we quickly approach 100,000 subscribers. All right? Enjoy the day, everybody. I'm out of here. Peace.